Good afternoon, everyone. I hope the folks in the back are able to hear me. Welcome to ENT203. Many customers and partners have been asking how to migrate and modernize their SAP applications using native AWS services. If you are one such customer and partner, this is the right session for you. My name is Manoj Muthukrishnan, and I head America's SAP on AWS Partner Solution Architect team. Today, I have the pleasure of co-presenting this session with Bob Armstrong, who is from Lowe's Travels and leads Lowe's Travels SAP ERP team and their digital platform team. Bob is going to share about how Lowe's Travels transformed their customer experience after migrating their SAP workloads with AWS. With that, I hand over to Bob. Bob, take it away.
Thank you, Manoj. Appreciate the opportunity to share the stage with you today. Thanks everyone for coming, skipping out on the World Cup. Yeah, a little bit of unfortunate timing, but appreciate that all of y'all are here. So my name is Bob Armstrong. I'm the Senior Manager for Digital Platforms at Love's Travel Stops and Country Stores. We're a family-owned, privately held company founded back in 1964. So our mission really is to provide clean places and friendly faces for both professional truck drivers, our 18-wheeled customers, and consumers, kind of what we refer to as four-wheel customers. Love's is really a family of companies. Gemini Motor Transport is our fuel delivery for fuel and specialty products. It's a primary carrier for us. We also deliver fuels for customers like Circle K. Got about 1,200 professional drivers, and annually we'll, looking for my number, drive 100 million miles. So pretty significant fleet. Musket Corporation specializes in commodity supply trading. So there we've kind of expanded out through our supply chain. So they do a lot of the fuel purchasing for us. Speedco is our truck maintenance and light mechanical services for professional drivers. Right now we've got about 500 locations that work 24 hours a day to support fleets with preventative maintenance, inspections, all of those kinds of activities. So I think I skipped something. So Love's kind of overall, with our travel stops, we've got about 600 locations nationwide right now, growth of 50 stores a year. So really, Love's in our DNA, we're an entrepreneurial founded company, and so that entrepreneurial spirit and attitude really pervades all the business areas. So one of the focuses of the company, it's kind of highest in value, is growth. So we're building 50 new stores a year. Starting next year, we'll renovate 50 new stores a year. Kind of our goal for years has been to get to 1,000 stores, but likely that's going to be pretty similar to a mile marker on the highway that you just blow right past. In the climate change space, Love's is committed to meeting the energy needs of our consumers. And so as there's exploration and growth in alternative fuels, Love's is committed to providing those fueling options. So renewable energy, EV services. In the supply chain space, we're just like everybody else. Lots of supply chain conversations going on. There's probably 8 different parallel conversations going on about supply chain opportunities. So whether that's securing the supply chain, whether that's getting deeper and optimizing our business, optimizing profit. So lots of conversations there. And then with technology trends, you've all experienced it. You pay for things in different ways today than you did even 5 years ago. So evolving the payment options, evolving the checkout options for our customers. A lot of our locations, we buy non-prime real estate, which also ends up with non-prime network connectivity. And so looking for options for our customers and stores, satellite internet with SpaceX. So our IT mission is really to deliver secure, stable, and scalable solutions and accelerate the pace at which we do that. So a big part of our AWS journey is a pursuit of acceleration. How do we go faster and increase the security, stability, and scalability? So really, as we look at AWS, we see opportunities to improve our customer experiences by leveraging AWS products and services, and then just continuing to look for operational efficiency. How do we drive down costs, minimize the amount of compute we use at any given time? So with the technical drivers for our SAP cloud transformation, we were really more opportunistic than driven. So we didn't have a pressing need to get out of a data center and have cost pressure from that. ECC and BW were hosted by third-party managed services company. That company was really struggling. Their security was inadequate. That may be kind. In the HCM space, we had out-of-support hardware. So really those were really the big technical drivers. Some of the key requirements we had were strengthening our security posture. We had a contract refresh cycle, so we had an opportunity to migrate to AWS before we had to renew the contract. Our business required us to have minimal disruption when we did the migration, minimal downtime, and we're really looking to take our HA and DR to the next step. Technically, we had DR, but we'd never tested it, and so if you got a DR that you haven't tested, you don't have DR. And really, there was an intangible that we needed to come out of the migration with, and that was confidence. We're planning to move major workloads, significant. HCM was the first one, and so payroll for 38,000 people is, on one hand, is a little risky, but on another hand, it's easy to test. Do parallel payroll, and if everything matches to the penny, you look pretty good. But really what we needed to come out of this with was confidence in AWS. So confidence that we could secure our systems, confidence that they'd be stable, and really confidence that our team and our partners could deliver on our promises. And so inside the migration, build components, we use some AWS quick starts for SAP. We committed to using hardened instances. We had to harden those instances ourselves. We couldn't use CIS hardened images from the CIS hardened AMIs, so we had to do it ourselves. Our strategy was to move both SAP heterogeneous components as well as homogeneous, so really our entire ecosystem. HANA system replication was a key component for both data migration as well as our HA and DR strategy. We wanted to come away with really reducing downtime, so there were components that we used, data sync and replication, to minimize that downtime window. And then on the cutover side, completed ECC cutover in about 6 hours, ECC and BW in 6 hours, HCM in about 4. and as well did a HANA database migration, HANA database upgrade for HCM. So a strong security posture in AWS for us was an essential component of our strategy. Some of my security cohorts are here, partners, and together it really took a strong partnership and commitment to work through the issues, hold the fort, let the schedule take a little bit of a ding to be able to launch with the security posture we needed. A security failure at our third-party managed services provider really shattered our confidence in them. And so as we start saying, okay, we're going to move away from them and we're going to go to the cloud, a strong security posture was essential. And there's just this essential link between security and confidence, and really needed to come away with that. So with automating SAP operations, there were some things we did initially. Automation is a never-ending journey for us, and so there were some things we did initially, automating backup, monitoring and alerting with CloudWatch, application insights for HANA. Our DevOps suite of tools, we use Terraform, Ansible, Packer, with some Lambda thrown in there. Infrastructure and application orchestration, we're using SAP Landscape Manager for both refreshes and for scheduled scale out, scale in. And disaster recovery with Cloud Endure, disaster recovery, AWS Elastic disaster recovery. And one of the things that's interesting about this slide is we went live in October 2020 and February 2021 with the various components. And already AWS has innovated with some of these components and tools, and we've gone back, upgraded, taken advantage of new capabilities. So we engaged AWS ProServe throughout the project in the design, build, test, and automation piece. And I'm not going to read this for you, but at Loves is a little bit similar to AWS. We have some similar language. Our leadership is always talking about accelerating the flywheel. How do we speed things up and go faster? And so part of our strategy has been to look for accelerators. And so what I mean by accelerators is choosing partners rather than vendors, automating wherever we can, training, organizational alignment, and refining our cloud strategy. And so we did a partner selection, looked at several options, and decided that AWS ProServe was best positioned to give us the kind of support and acceleration that we needed. So this slide is a little busy. Right now, ECC and HCM are architected pretty similarly. We'll be going live with PO in early 2023, and it'll be very similar to this architecture as well. And so in general, our production is in US East 1. Our HA strategy is multi-AZ strategy, DR strategy, multi-region. On the HANA database side, HANA server replication gives us near real-time replication, so really reduces our RPO kind of numbers in both the HA and DR space. So in the Cloud Endure, Elastic disaster recovery, those set of tools are doing our file system migrations. And so inevitably, when you do a transformation like this, there are opportunities to modernize, opportunities to make some different choices. There's a lot of detail in that slide. Some of our bottom line takeaways were we wanted to execute essential upgrades where needed, HANA 1.0 to 2.0. Our interest in more stable systems and lower outage windows kind of pushed us to Red Hat versus Windows. Where we could, went to Sybase ASE rather than Windows SQL Server. And that really is a cost move to more stable, cheaper environments. And then for us, our DR and business continuity strategies are still evolving. Everything we move to AWS has both a high availability and DR component. And really one of the things that's been interesting about that is we've been able to add high availability and disaster recovery really with no additional cost. And so the cost savings in AWS, in essence, we invested those in our HA and DR capabilities. So some of our milestones, 2019, we migrated ECC and BW to the managed services provider. We did a cloud platform evaluation and selection, AWS, Azure, GCP. We selected AWS, but at that point it was sort of a platform choice without planned roadmap workloads to move there. Just sort of a when we do, that's where we're going. In 2020, we had a major security breach that I alluded to earlier. In May, we awarded our system integrator contract to AWS ProServe. In October, went live with HCM. So pretty quick, pretty tight turnaround there. In February 2021, went live with ECC and BW. Then throughout the year, we added Vertex, Sales Tax, as well as Adobe Document Services. 2022, Business Objects, Process Orchestration, Solution Manager. We migrated some Postgres databases that we used in conjunction with Mendix low code. That was hosted on SAP's BTP platform, and we migrated the databases out of BTP and into AWS. With the process overall for us was a $2 million a year cost savings. Beyond, we've got a few more SAP workloads to move, GRC, some additional stuff with Solution Manager, Business Objects Data Services, Redwood Chronicle. We're in the middle of doing an evaluation with AWS ProServe of our existing VMware fleet that's on-premise. So we've done some of the monitoring. Right now, we're doing some of the analysis to carve that up into waves. We've engaged the AWS Cloud Economics team to help us work through cost savings benefit. And with this, we'll take the same opportunistic approach. We'll look at those workloads that will save us money, provide additional features, and go that way. We're also looking at engaging AWS to have some conversations about, tell us a story about why we should move our Heroku workloads to AWS. Why should we move some of our Azure workloads to AWS? So really looking to leverage the skill set and capabilities we've built up in AWS. We've learned that it takes a lot to competently secure a cloud environment, and just are a little wary of the investment to have to do that in AWS, in Azure, in GCP. So really trying to look at how we can leverage the gains we've made there. Business benefits, $2 million annual in infrastructure savings with what we've moved so far. Reduced infrastructure and licensing costs, shrunk our maintenance windows, and really have made some really strong strides with building a team, building out skill sets, and building leadership confidence in AWS. We don't have to answer the why AWS question. Some of our lessons learned really challenge the economic assumptions. AWS can disrupt a lot of things, how you think about server procurement, how you think about capacity planning, vendor relationships. A lot of times we've used third-party system integrators for some of our data center purchasing. We've broken some of those relationships and gone to cloudier models, pay-as-you-go kind of licensing, rather than calendar-staked licensing. Choose your partner and project stakeholders wisely. Partners will accelerate you, your internal stakeholders. Having a strong relationship is important. You're going to hit some rocky spots, and having those strong business relationships and trust is important. Make high-velocity, two-way door decisions whenever possible. My paraphrase for this is date your decisions, don't marry them. There are times in a project where you need to make a good decision, not a perfect decision, and so perfection can really stall you. Automate early and often, even if it requires additional upfront time investment. This item is a continual challenge. Automation and testing of that automation can take time. You can quickly spin up all the manual stuff you want, but without the guardrails, and so there's just continual tension and challenge, and so having those principles and guardrails in your thinking are really helpful here. So with that, I'll pass it on to Manoj.
Thanks a lot, Bob, for sharing Love's Travel's cloud migration journey for their SAP workloads. With that, let's see how customers and partners can actually get started for their SAP workloads on AWS. Now, AWS has got over 14 years of experience hosting SAP workloads. We have been constantly innovating our purpose-built SAP products based on customer feedback and also on behalf of the customers. Our journey with SAP actually started way back in 2008, when SAP actually became a customer of AWS and started to leverage our infrastructure for hosting their internal project systems for testing and prototyping purpose. In 2011, actually, we started to certify our infrastructure for SAP workloads, and by 2012, we had our SAP HANA and Business Suite on HANA certified on AWS. And we had a lot of customers actually running their mission-critical workloads on AWS by 2012 on HANA and Business Suite on HANA. Now, to cater the needs of the growing customer base, we created in 2013 the AWS SAP Partner Competency Program. Now, in 2013, SAP NS2 for regulated industries started to deploy on AWS Gov Cloud for basically public sector companies and federal defense companies which needed higher level of security. Now, customers constantly gave us a feedback that they wanted an automated deployment tool, and AWS released in 2014 Quick Start for HANA to automate your entire HANA infrastructure deployment. Now, in 2016, actually we released our 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte purpose-built HANA environments certified to cater the needs of some of our larger customers. And in 2017, we actually started our dedicated professional services for for SAP and to bridge the skill gap between cloud and SAP. Now, customers wanted even more larger HANA instances. So we certified the 4 terabyte instances in 2017 for HANA. And then in 2018, we increased that size to 6, 9, and 12 terabyte instances, single node scale up. And in 2019, we actually, in fact, even released the 18 terabyte and 24 terabyte single node HANA scale up certified and purpose built for SAP. Now, customers actually wanted to automate their entire SAP deployment, and they wanted a wizard-based deployment tool which would provide them with guided experience. AWS, based on customer feedback, we released our launch wizard for SAP, which would automate your end-to-end SAP deployment in a matter of a couple of hours, right from the infrastructure all the way up to the application stack. Now, in 2021, we enhanced our launch wizard for SAP and added the SAP application capability as well as high availability capability, and also included the clustering setup as part of our automation for deployment. AWS, based on customer feedback, in 2021, we released the SAP Lens for well-architected review, which would actually provide customers the guided principles and the best practices to be followed. In 2022, we also released an SAP-specific AWS migration orchestrator, which would provide customers and partners a single location to track and monitor their SAP migrations. AWS has got thousands of SAP customers actually trusting AWS to run their mission-critical workloads. And these customers are across different geographies and industries. Now, if you take healthcare and life sciences, we have customers like Bristol Myers Squibb, which actually runs S/4HANA on AWS and used selective data transfer to migrate their ECC environment to AWS. And Bristol Myers Squibb is actually leveraging AWS services to automate their GXP compliance. If you take retail and consumer goods, we have customers like Zalando, which is actually running their S/4HANA on AWS and integrating with 36 plus AWS services and shipping over $145 million of finished goods from the platform that runs on AWS. If you take public sector and defense, US Navy actually migrated their Navy ERP to AWS. If you take the automotive and transportation industry, we have customers like Volkswagen, which actually integrates their S/4HANA with the digital production platform, which leverages IoT services provided by AWS to optimize their manufacturing process. And the customer is looking to optimize their manufacturing process by over 30%. If you take the agricultural and food and beverages company, we have customers like Restaurant Brand International, which actually moved their ECC environment on Oracle to AWS, and the customer is already seeing more than 25% of improvement with regards to performance. If you take technology companies, we have customers like HP, which actually runs over 60 plus SAP instances across 11 different landscapes and to run their next generation products. Now, if you take the RISE with SAP customers, and if you want to see why customers who are opting to go with RISE with SAP should select AWS, if you take from an experience perspective, as I mentioned earlier, AWS has over 14 years of experience hosting SAP workloads for mission-critical workloads for some of the largest companies. From a reliability perspective, AWS for RISE with SAP provides an RPO of 0, and we offer customers both short-range DR as well as long-range DR to basically provide an extreme reliability for their mission-critical workloads. From a performance perspective, the RISE with SAP platform, the EC2 instances actually uses the Nitro platform, which offers better performance for the EC2 instances. Now, from a global footprint perspective, AWS from an SAP Business Technology Platform has got 9 regions, and basically you would use the BTP services to basically modernize and innovate your core SAP processes. Now, with regards to the partner ecosystem, you can basically tap onto our 77 SAP competency partners who can actually help you with regards to migrations and modernization and transformation for your RISE with SAP instances. Now, if you look into AWS has got thousands of customers actually running RISE with SAP as well as the BTP services on AWS. And we have customers like Manchester Airports Group, Revlon, American Air Filter, and Balance actually running the RISE with SAP environment on AWS. Now, if you see some of the top reasons why the RISE and RISE with SAP and the BTP services should be run on AWS is, AWS has got 9 regions for your BTP services, and there are over 30 services as of last week, which runs exclusively on AWS. If you take from a reliability perspective, as I mentioned, AWS provides an RPO of 0 globally across all our regions with our short-range DR, which actually supports synchronous replication and leverages the same region, multiple availability zones, and our AZs are actually separated by meaningful distance and also support synchronous replication. The RISE with SAP on AWS also supports long-range DR, wherein customers can deploy their mission-critical SAP environments in 2 different regions to increase their reliability. When it comes to global network, we have a single global network for simplified connectivity patterns with the RISE and the BTP services both running on AWS. Now, these are not just our statements. If you take third-party analysts like Gartner, they actually recognize AWS as the leader for the 12th consecutive year. And if you look into the Gartner's, the Magic Quadrant for the cloud infrastructure services and platform services, they have declared AWS as the leader. Every year the report has been released. Now, when it comes to SAP, ISG, which specializes in SAP, recognizes AWS as the SAP HANA infrastructure services leader for the 5th consecutive year. And ISG says, AWS has over a decade of experience in hosting SAP workloads and offers a wide array of choices for customers. It has the most market share and the largest SAP partner ecosystem in the United States. Now, as I mentioned, AWS has been constantly innovating based on customer feedback and also on behalf of the customer. And I'm going to talk about some of the recent launches which are SAP specific and purpose-built purely for SAP. Last week, we released AWS SDK for SAP ABAP, which lets ABAP developers to basically extend and transform their SAP business process and integrate it with native 300 plus AWS services and using ABAP as the language. It also provides a very strong security posture wherein you can actually encrypt your payloads with HTTPS and also use the SAP-specific SAP-level permissions that you have defined within your SAP system. In fact, today, later today at Venetian, I think so at 4 p.m. or something, there is a session, a breakout session for this ABAP SDK, and I would strongly encourage anyone who is interested in extending and integrating your, transforming your SAP business process with native AWS services to attend that particular session. In addition, we have released a lot of SAP-specific innovations in the recent couple of months, and I would like to dive deep into each of those innovations that we released for SAP. We classify our innovations for SAP on 4 different pillars. The first pillar being simplifying migrations. The second pillar is core infrastructure to run your SAP workloads. The third pillar is innovation and modernization. And the fourth pillar is basically simplifying management and operations. Let's dive deep into each of these pillars to understand what are the recent SAP-specific innovations that AWS has released. If you take the simplifying migrations pillar, we released an SAP-specific migration hub orchestrator, which provides customers and partners a single location to go and track and monitor your SAP migrations. Migration hub orchestrator actually provides customizable workflow templates that customers and partners can use and to automate your SAP migrations. In addition, we also made significant improvements in our migration acceleration program for SAP, which actually reduces the cost for migration for SAP customers. If you go into the core infrastructure for hosting your SAP workloads, we released a lot of innovations in the recent past. And the first one is basically we released SAP certified for NetWeaver and HANA Intel Ice Lake based EC2 instances. With our X2I instances, this offers close to up to 50% performance improvement over the previous generation Intel Haswell based HANA instances. This is purely purpose built for HANA. And these X2I instances are basically from the 1 to 4 terabyte ranges. We also released R6i, M6i, and C6i instances basically in the memory optimized, general purpose, and compute optimized instances. And these instance types actually offer over 15% improvement in performance compared to the previous generation Intel Cascade Lake and Skylake based processors. AWS offers customers the choice. We also have our SAP NetWeaver instances certified for AMD based processors with AMD Milan based EC2 instances running on R6A, M6A, and C6A instances. We also released virtualized 18 terabyte and 24 terabyte HANA instances, single node, scale up, certified for SAP. Now, one of the key differentiator with the virtualized environment on AWS is we leverage our Nitro systems, Nitro platform. Nitro provides the customers the same level of performance what they would otherwise get in a bare metal instances. So customers have a choice. You could basically leverage the virtualized environments for the 18 or 24 or also the bare metal instances. We also released Amazon FSx for NetApp and support for SAP HANA host auto failover with Amazon FSx for NetApp. This provides high availability capability for your HANA multi-node, HANA scale-out instances, and thereby provides you with the standby capability to reduce the cost. If you go into the innovation and modernization pillar, we released multiple features or innovations in this particular space. The SAP AppFlow connector, which was released last year, had a significant enhancements. We added the capability to have bidirectional data flows with, for AppFlow SAP connector, and now customers can actually write back to SAP if needed. AppFlow also supports change data capture with leveraging operational data provisioning, and customers can actually do a full extract as well as incremental extracts from the SAP environment. As I mentioned, we also released AWS SDK for SAP ABAP, and now customers and ABAPers can basically integrate their SAP business process natively with 300 plus AWS services using this particular innovation feature that was released. In simplifying management and operations, we made significant enhancements to our Launch Wizard for SAP tool. Now, Launch Wizard for SAP now supports, you could basically scale up a deployment after an original deployment has been completed. And what it means is that customers, if they want to add an additional application server or add an additional subordinate node to your HANA scale-out environment, they can do that using Launch Wizard in an automated manner after the original deployment has been completed. We also, Launch Wizard also now has got the capability to clone your deployments. You can basically reuse the parameters that you used in your previous deployment to build a newer environments, and thereby you can reduce the amount of time to build the new systems. Launch Wizard now also supports Solution Manager for automated deployment in addition to S4HANA and BW for HANA. We also released a couple of weeks back the observability for NetWeaver using CloudWatch application insights. Now, this provides customers a single pane view for monitoring and observability, wherein the customers can actually monitor and monitor their entire SAP stack right from the infrastructure level all the way up to the NetWeaver, which includes your operating system, your pacemaker cluster that you use for your high availability, as well as the HANA database and the SAP NetWeaver stack. Now, last year, based on customer feedback, we actually released a SAP Lens for well-architected review. The last year's release was version 1.0. And this SAP Lens actually provides customers proven design principles and best practices for ensuring that your SAP workloads are well-architected. The SAP Lens was actually developed based on feedback that we got from our SAP specialist team, wherein our tenured solution architects actually work with the customers and they gather the feedback. This SAP Lens has also been created based on the feedback what we got from our SAP competency partners and thousands of SAP customers who have actually migrated the last 14 years to AWS. Now, this SAP Lens will actually augment and supplement your regular well-architected review and provides customers proven design principles across all the 6 pillars, which is basically operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, cost optimization, and sustainability. Now, we also made some further innovations for backing up your HANA environment. Now, we released AWS Backup support for SAP HANA. AWS Backup actually provides a centralized, managed tool for backing up your entire, all the cloud resources. Previously, we had a HANA backend, which was taking care of the HANA backups, and customers to back up the rest of the components in your SAP landscape, like EBS or EFS, where your application servers and SAP and users have transfer are all installed, had to use AWS Backup as a separate thing. Now, AWS Backup integrates it with HANA, thereby providing you with a single tool to back up your entire SAP landscape. AWS Backup also provides you with immutable backup capability and thereby to satisfy your compliance requirements for your SAP environment. As I mentioned, we also released CloudWatch application insights for SAP NetWeaver and HANA. This provides customers and partners a single tool to monitor and provide observability across the entire stack, right from the infrastructure level to the operating system to the pacemaker for in case if you have configured a high availability. It also includes HANA and the NetWeaver stack. CloudWatch application insights also supports high availability and monitoring your pacemaker cluster solution. And it also leverages AI/ML to analyze the SAP NetWeaver system metrics and detect any kind of abnormality or deviation from normal baselines with very minimal user intervention. In addition, to jumpstart your cloud migration and to bridge the skill gap, AWS has got a dedicated practice within the professional services team purely for SAP purpose. And this provides our professional services for SAP, bridges the skill gap between cloud and SAP, and helps customers achieve desired business outcomes with the world's topmost and foremost SAP on AWS experts. Our professional services offer many complementary offerings like SAP on AWS Discovery, wherein they can come and look into your current landscape and then define the target architecture on AWS. They also offer complementary offerings with, say, SAP High Availability on AWS, and many launch offerings like DevOps for SAP or Analytics for SAP or GXP compliance automation for SAP. And AWS Professional Services has been leveraged by many customers like Phillips 66, Garrett, Lowe's Travels, as Bob mentioned, NVIDIA, Moderna, and others. In addition, customers can also leverage our 77 SAP competency partners who have migrated thousands of SAP customers to AWS. And these SAP competency partners can actually jumpstart your SAP migration and also help in your modernization journey. As part of the next steps to jumpstart your SAP migration to AWS, we offer many complementary discovery workshops wherein our tenured SAP specialist solution architects will come and work with your team on and they would understand your current architecture, and your current landscape and design the target architecture on AWS, and these are complementary in nature. In addition, you can also work with our AWS Professional Services and our 77 plus SAP competency partners. As I mentioned earlier, we also offer AWS Migration Acceleration Program, which offers credits for and reduces the cost for migration of SAP workloads to AWS. If you would like to explore more and learn more about SAP on AWS, you can actually go to our website, which is aws.amazon.com/SAP, where you will find all the technical guides and the blogs which are which have been written for SAP, and learn more about how to run and operate your SAP workloads on AWS. If you would like to learn more and from other customers, you could basically look into the case studies what we have published on the same website on aws.amazon.com/case studies. With that, I would like to thank you and open the floor for any questions and answers. And our email IDs have been provided in this particular slide. And if you would like to reach out to me or to Bob after this particular session, you please feel free to contact us in the email ID provided.